A black man is driving down the road when he accidentally hits a wild boar. "You've hit and killed my pig. I'm very sorry. I'll compensate you for the damages." "How much? How much do you want?" Hearing this, the white man immediately names an exorbitant price, $100. Faced with such an unreasonable request, the black man of course refused. But when he sees the gun the white man pulls from his belt, fear immediately replaces his anger. He hastily says he has a check in the car and scrambles to get it. You have to understand, this was 2 months' living expenses for his entire family. His wife's eyes are filled with regret and helplessness, but she also knows that if they don't obediently hand over the money, their whole family could be killed right here. Therefore, she can only heartbrokenly take out the check. But the white men don't stop there. They intentionally throw the check on the ground, demanding the black man bend down to pick it up, and then help them load the dead pig onto their truck before they're allowed to leave. The black man knows this is a blatant humiliation, but after looking back at his wife and children, he still chooses to endure it and comply. That humiliating scene is seared into the mind of his eldest son sitting in the car, and from that moment, the wheels of his destiny begin to turn. The story is set in 1935 in Texas, a time when segregation laws were still in effect. Black people were treated no better than rats in the street. Even if they stole a piece of bread out of hunger, they could be burned alive at the stake by white people. Let alone going to school or getting a decent job, black people could only do the most grueling manual labor. If they dared to unite and resist, the police would use rioting as an excuse to throw them in jail. Even the father, a highly educated man fluent in 7 languages with a PhD, could not escape the shackles of his skin color. He could only travel around giving speeches to make a living. Thus he placed his hopes on his eldest, most intelligent son is James, hoping he could change their fate. He sends him to study at his alma mater, Willie College School. Willie College was called a law school, but in reality it was more like a concentration camp for black people. However, luckily James meets a good teacher here. On the first day of school, Professor Tolson stands passionately at the podium, telling everyone, "Your mission here is not just to get a degree, but to drive change in this nation's laws, to demand equality for black people with white people." To achieve this noble goal, Tolson forms a debate team each year to compete against white schools, advocating for the rights of black people. Through his careful selection, 4 students quickly stand out. Junior from a poor family background, Henry with his somewhat intimidating appearance, the beautiful and graceful Samantha Book, and finally James, who entered college at the age of 14. Although he is only a reserve member responsible for gathering research for the debate team, this is enough to make James Farmer Jr. feel excited and thrilled. Because the sight of his father being humiliated by white men is still seared into his mind, impossible to forget. However, to become an excellent debater, one must first have clear and powerful articulation. Therefore, Professor Tolson has them practice every day with a cork in their mouths. Who is the judge? The judge is God. Why is he God? Because he decides who wins or loses, not my opponent. Who is your opponent? He doesn't exist. Why doesn't he exist? Because he is merely a dissenting voice to the truth I speak. Just like that, the 4 of them repeated this saying like a mantra, and it later became their undefeated manifesto. Back at school, when faced with the debate topics given by the professor, the 4 students' answers, though not perfect, were logically clear and well argued. This showed they were teachable students, and the professor was very pleased with this. The next day at school, the professor informed them they would have a debate next week, and their first opponent was a famous black university. This made the 4, who had no prior debate experience, feel understandably anxious. Not to mention, 1 week wasn't enough time to write the debate case. But the professor told them to just research the arguments. He would write the case. I'll write the case and you just deliver the points. What am I? A mailman? If you dare question me again, you can pack your bags and get out of here. Theoretically, you are just a student. Are you saying I'm not capable? This isn't about capability. It's about experience. How will I know what you've written? I will write the case. It has always been this way, and it will continue to be this way. Any more questions? The professor was so angry because this wasn't just a simple debate. It was a revolution without guns. No mistakes were allowed. The day of the debate quickly arrived. The topic this time was, when the economic recession ends, should unemployment relief be discontinued? The affirmative side argued that true relief meant giving people jobs, not endless financial handouts, thereby building a healthy economic system. This answer was actually very good, but it lacked a specific implementation roadmap and factual evidence. Meanwhile, the negative side used facts as their weapon, citing a large amount of detailed data to refute them, directly attacking the weaknesses in their opponent's argument. After just 2 rounds of debate, the opponents were left in an irrefutable position. The audience below immediately erupted in thunderous applause. And just like that, they easily won this debate, which they hadn't been favored to win from the start. Henry and Junior, thanks to their outstanding performances, became the top debaters in the professor's eyes. They represented the school in multiple competitions, not only frequently making the front pages of newspapers, but also setting a record of 11 consecutive wins. In a short time, they became the best black debate team in America and, for the first time, received an invitation to debate from a white school. As they were getting closer to their dream, conflicts both inside and outside the debate team began to intensify. At a school gathering, James intended to ask Samantha, the girl he had a secret crush on, to dance. But his muse was already on the arm of Henry, who was the most famous debater at the time. This made him feel terrible inside. He decided to leave the gathering and head home alone. On the way home, he happened to see a group of black and white farmers meeting in secret. Curious, he quietly moved closer. It was then he discovered that Professor Tolson wasn't just a teacher at the school, but also a member of the Republican Party. He was calling on black and white farmers to form a unified union, hoping to win more subsidies from the government. However, someone must have leaked the news, as the police quickly raided the meeting, and everyone scattered. Luckily, Professor Tolson and James managed to escape. But right before the night of the showdown with the white school, Junior suddenly announced he was quitting the competition. Because Professor Tolson was involved with the Southern Tenant Farmers Union, the police were watching him every day. Junior didn't want his already struggling family to get caught up in this trouble. This decision made Professor Tolson feel helpless. The debate team was now down to just 3 people. The next day's debate went on as scheduled. However, the surprising thing was, to prevent their school from being soiled by the footsteps of black people, the white side decided to hold the competition on a farm. And the debate topic this time was even more ironic. Should Negroes be allowed to enroll in white schools? Looking down, the audience was entirely white. Stepping onto the stage for the first time, Samantha Book was extremely nervous, stumbling over her words as she presented her points. Some of the white people quickly showed their disdain and walked out, but she quickly regained her composure, using a series of irrefutable historical facts to prove the enormous sacrifices and contributions of black people to the nation's development. She quoted an article from the New York Times in 1920, stressing that Negroes should be considered a legitimate race. The negative side, represented by the white students, wasn't ready to back down. They argued that discrimination has always existed, and forcing black students into the same schools as white students would inevitably lead to school violence and bullying. This was clearly not conducive to learning and development. Although they admitted that one day, children of different skin colors would share the same sky of knowledge, that day was certainly not today. By this time, Samantha Book had regained her cool and quickly identified the loophole in her opponent's argument. She used this as a breakthrough point to deliver a powerful rebuttal. The opponent's data shows this state spends 5 times more on the education of a white child than a black child. Does that mean this child's textbook is better than that child's? Oh, what a pity. But the opposition says, it is not the time for Negroes and whites to attend the same schools, share the same campus, the same classrooms. So could you please tell me, when is the right time? Tomorrow? Next week? Or in 100 years? Or never? The time for justice, the time for freedom, the time for equality is always, and it is right now. Samantha Book's passionate speech immediately received thunderous applause from the audience. Even some of the white people couldn't help but applaud her. The next day, Professor Tolson was forcibly taken away by the police. James's father heard the news and immediately went to the scene with a lawyer. But upon seeing the growing crowd of farmers gathering outside, the stubborn sheriff also became angry. He declared he would not release Professor Tolson no matter what. James's father had to bring up the time the sheriff had previously conducted an illegal search. Are you threatening me? No, sir, I would not do that. Then what is your meaning? Do you want to see the Texas police massacre all these people, black and white alike? As the sheriff of this county, is that what you want to see? But if you let Tolson go home, I believe the people outside will go home too. With just a few words, the father persuaded the sheriff, and also showed everyone the power of language. Afterward, the debate team regained their spirits. Professor Tolson drove them to the next competition at night. However, on the way they witnessed a horrifying sight. A black man, hung from a tree and burned to a crisp. Professor Tolson immediately turned off the car's headlights and signaled for the students to get down, trying to sneak past. But unexpectedly, the cunning white men turned on their car's lights. As soon as they saw the driver was a black man, they immediately rushed over aggressively. Fortunately, Professor Tolson had excellent driving skills, quickly reversing the car, turning around and speeding away, helping them escape the danger. But this incident still caused them immense psychological trauma. Henry got out of the car and immediately went to a bar to drink his sorrows away. Samantha Book bought a ticket to go back home first thing in the morning. This gave James the opportunity to take the debate stage for the first time. But even when standing in the arena, neither of them had recovered from the shock. As law students facing the brutal actions of white people, they were unable to use the law to fight back. The concepts of fairness and justice seemed meaningless at this moment. It's no surprise they lost this debate miserably. Returning home, James hugged his father tightly. At this moment, he finally understood his father's earlier compromise. However, the misfortune didn't stop there. Professor Tolson was investigated by the government for participating in the workers' and farmers' meeting. He was forbidden from leaving town, but luckily, he received an invitation to participate in the debate competition at Harvard University. This was the most prestigious international debate forum in history. Professor Tolson was moved to tears because he finally had the chance to make all of America hear the voice of black people. The next morning, everyone went to the train station to prepare for the journey. However, just as they boarded the train, Professor Tolson told them he couldn't go with them. "What? I can't leave this state. That's the condition of my bail. You can't let them stop you." "They aren't stopping me. I just don't want to ruin this opportunity for you. You can win without me. That's what you've always wanted to prove, isn't it? Why didn't you tell us before?" "Because I didn't want to hear your speeches. I knew they'd be too moving." And so, just the three of them set off for Harvard. As soon as they got off the train, a Harvard student in charge of welcoming them found them. He told them this would be the most formal debate in America, broadcast live nationwide. And that was exactly what black people wanted. Afterward, they stepped into Harvard's magnificent debate hall for the first time. For the first time, they stayed in a luxury hotel. For the first time, they enjoyed attentive service with a personal attendant. They even each received $5 in pocket money. All of this felt like an unbelievable fairy tale to them. At the same time, it made them feel what respect was for the first time. Just as everything was going in the right direction, an unexpected letter shattered the peace. It turned out that after learning all of Willie Collick's cases were written by Professor Tolson, Harvard had decided to change the debate topic at the last minute. Now, both they and the Harvard team had only 48 hours to prepare. James immediately called Professor Tolson, but no one answered. Helpless, they had no choice but to research and draft the case themselves. But soon, they started arguing. "I think we have to talk about Gandhi's nonviolent movement." "I disagree. I don't think people will understand nonviolent non-cooperation. This word comes from Sanskrit. It means truth and fairness." Everyone was stunned. They hadn't expected that even an attendant at Harvard would be so knowledgeable. Shortly after, they argued fiercely again about what to use for the opening statement. Since no one would back down, the hot-tempered Henry slammed the door and left. Perhaps to escape reality, or perhaps helpless against the pressure, he decided to go to a bar to drink his sorrows away. But there, he witnessed a scene where black people could only drown themselves in alcohol in dark corners, while white people sat in luxury cars. A world clearly divided between black and white appeared before his eyes. Henry suddenly realized that running away couldn't solve the problem. Only by facing it bravely could they truly achieve the equality they had long hoped for. He returned to their room and wrote the case for the Harvard Showdown all night. At the same time, he decided to let James be the main speaker this time. This decision made not only Samantha Book but also James wonder why he was chosen. After all, his previous performance had been terrible. At this moment, Henry, with tear-filled eyes, asked the question Professor Tolson had asked countless times. "Who is the judge?" "The judge is God." "Why is he God?" "Because he decides who wins or loses, not my opponent." "Who is your opponent?" "He does not exist." "Why doesn't he exist?" "Because he is merely a dissenting voice to me." "That's right. Speak the truth." The next day, the debate took place as scheduled. Almost the entire audience was white. But on the other side of the radio, it was the complete opposite. Everyone was unusually silent, afraid of missing this great moment. After the president of Harvard gave his speech, the debate officially began. The first person on stage was James, representing the affirmative side. The debate topic was, is passive resistance a moral weapon to defend justice? James Farmer Jr. spoke about the Amritsar massacre in India in 1919. At that time, tens of thousands of people had gathered to protest the brutal British rule. General Dyer trapped them in a square and ordered his troops to fire into the crowd for 10 minutes, killing 379 people. Afterward, General Dyer justified his actions by calling it a moral lesson for the people. However, in complete contrast, Mahatma Gandhi and his followers chose the path of nonviolence and non-cooperation. Under their leadership, government buildings were occupied by the people, and streets were blocked by citizens who resolutely refused to stand up. They persisted even when beaten by the police. This series of actions forced the British government to release Gandhi. Gandhi called this a victory for morality. So what is morality? Is it General Dyer's lesson, or is it Gandhi's victory? You choose. As soon as James Farmer Jr. finished his speech, the audience immediately applauded enthusiastically, because his argument not only hit the core of the topic but also evoked deep thoughts about the nature of morality. Next, the Harvard debaters quickly counterattacked. They argued that resistance and revolution are synonymous with violence and bloodshed. They listed a series of casualty figures from international wars, each one a massacre far larger than the Amritsar tragedy. They emphasized that what's truly important isn't how many lives are sacrificed, but the rights and freedoms won through resilient struggle. If one only resists passively, the losses will be severe. Fighting bravely to protect one's country is the highest moral standard. As soon as the Harvard debater finished, the audience also gave him enthusiastic applause. At this moment, Professor Tolson had also secretly arrived at the scene. The competitors from both sides then began a heated debate, trading blows without any mercy, until the second Harvard debater used the example of his police officer father. My father is a police officer. I still remember that day. His partner, his best friend, was shot and killed while suppressing a riot. The most vivid thing is, I clearly remember the look on my father's face. Any violation of the law is immoral, no matter what name we paint it with. The hall erupted in applause. The white audience members also stood up, cheering enthusiastically. Seeing the scales of victory tipping towards Harvard, James felt the pressure weighing down on him. He continued to write in his notebook, then walked to the podium without saying a word. He used 30 seconds of silence to show his resistance. Then, he began to tell a story about an incident he had witnessed with his own eyes not long ago. In Texas, they lynched Negroes without a trial. My teammates and I saw a man, hung and burned. What crime did that black man commit to be left in a misty forest without a trial? Was he a thief, a murderer, or was it just because he was a Negro? Are his children waiting for him at home? Regardless of what he did, those thugs are the criminals. But the law at that moment could not protect him. This makes us wonder why. The opposition says any violation of the law is immoral. But in the South, where segregation is practiced, there is no law. At least, there is no law when Negroes are denied the right to housing, denied admission to schools and hospitals, and when we are lynched without a trial. St. Augustine said, "An unjust law is no law at all." This means I have the right, even the responsibility, to use violence or passive resistance to fight back. You should feel lucky that I have chosen the latter. As soon as James finished speaking, both black and white people in the audience applauded from the bottom of their hearts. Regardless of the competition's outcome, he had succeeded in carrying the voice of his people to every corner of the world, and this small flame would eventually erupt into a massive fire. Soon, the president began to announce the final winner. The winner is Willie Colic. This was the moment black people had waited for so long. They had won this war without guns. While everyone was celebrating, Professor Tolson quietly left the hall alone. This is a true story. For the next 10 years, the Willie Colic debate team continuously won national competitions. James Farmer Jr., at the age of 22, became a leader of the civil rights movement, dedicated to speaking up for the oppressed and the wronged. This film is not only to remember this debate team, but also to remember all those who have the courage to face injustice and speak the truth. It shows us that even in the darkest of times, the light of resilience shines within humanity. Therefore, whenever we encounter difficulties and challenges that seem insurmountable, let us courageously speak up and pursue the truth. Believe that one butterfly emerging from its chrysalis can break the silence of the long night, but thousands of butterflies beating their wings can awaken the dormant vitality of spring. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching. What did you think of this movie? Let me know in the comments below.